I want to spend today's video talking a little bit about the best defender in Marvel Contest of Champions. I'm of course referring to none other than Maestro. Did I get you? I hope I got you. You heard that right though. I genuinely believe that Maestro is at least as bad, in the right circumstance, as Serpent or even Dark Phoenix, right? I believe if you go in unprepared, he is right up there in that category with those crimes against humanity. But I also want to talk about in this video how no other champion is simultaneously as scary as I've just described, but also so easy to take down if you have the right counter. So I present to you today the paradox that is Maestro. So Maestro was always designed to be a big bad defender, and consequently, when he's unawakened, he isn't the most impressive offensively. So we're going to take him into, I believe, the second quest of Valiant EQ, where Cosmics just gets super boosted to the moon, because my Maestro is unawakened. I have, at different points in time since acquiring him, had a generic 7-star gem and a Cosmic 7-star gem, and I use them on Luke Cage and Serpent respectively. Bite me. So I don't have the most impressive Maestro in the world. If I did, I would take him into Act 8 or Act 9 like I normally do, but we're going to have some fun decimating a Cosmic Path in EQ today. Now, Maestro was, the Explo 7-star Maestro anyway, was the reward for exploring the Necropolis. Now, the Necropolis is no mean feat, right? Especially at the time of release. It's still chunky now, but I believe at the time, it was a very difficult piece of content, but I believe that you were well compensated for your efforts by getting Maestro. I believe that this was a very, very satisfying reward, and, you know, he's still very powerful now. We'll get into that in a little bit, but when he came out, he was the best defender in the game, and it wasn't even close, right? He was terrifying, especially when you consider the very next Gladiator Circuit meta, I think that came out, you know, once the best players in the world had got their Maestros, was Polka Dot Power Shield. So this guy's triple immunities, plus all the BS we're about to get into, definitely made him, how we put this, stand out. Definitely made him stand out. Now, when you fight Maestro unprepared, when you go in without a good counter, let's say you go in with Photon, right? The first thing you're going to notice is his glancing buff. He has thresholds of neutronium that he gains, and the first threshold he passes when he passes 10 charges is that glancing buff. Now, this lasts forever if you do not apply an atrophy to him, and still today very few characters have access to atrophy, and it's refreshed every time he goes past a multiple of 10 neutronium. So it basically lasts the entire fight. It basically lasted the entire fight, and what did it do? Well, it means you can't crit, you have minus 100% ability accuracy, which is stupid, and it caps your attack rating of 50%. So remember when everybody went insane? When Yelena Belova capped the opponent's attack rating at 60% of what it was when they entered the fight when she's in observation mode, Maestro was doing it worse all the time 18 months prior. Yeah, that's a little bit insane. And the result of this is you are left with this existential dread leading into this fight, where you know the character you are playing, no matter how great they may be, in another scenario, we all know how insane Photon is, will be ground down to nothing and turned into a potato in the face of this impenetrable fortress on defense. It's like trying to break down a building using a paintbrush, trying to kill this guy with an inappropriate counter. You have the glancing, and you're the one being turned into a potato. We grew accustomed to turning defenders into potatoes. Our attackers are the ones that do the potatoing. But Maestro flips it the other way around. You have nothing. Zero, zilch, nada, no abilities. You can do nothing, as your health is grinded away and erased by his passive energy damage. He gains that radiation buff when he passes 30 neutronium, so essentially to deal whatever damage you have left, you have to just punch him and pray, and unfortunately you get punished for doing so. So he was just obscene on defense. But if you get that counter, if you get that counter, this is the unique property of Maestro, what inspired me to make this video. When you make that counter work, right, there is no defender that folds so easily as Maestro. Maestro, in about 10 seconds, goes from the worst thing on defense ever, to 51k easy throw around in Celestial Battlegrounds, right? You're left with this weird scenario. When I face, the challenge of building my deck every Battleground season, Maestro is always either just on the edge, he's in the deck, but I never really draft him because I'm not confident enough in him, or he doesn't make the cut, right? Because you're left in this weird scenario where you either draft him and the opponent doesn't get a counter, in which case GG's, insta-win, absolutely no way in hell that they beat you, or they do draft a counter and he's dead weight. And he's useless offensively in Battlegrounds, and he's just a punching bag defensively. Right, and that is different to all other defenders in MCOC. Right, obviously, Serpent and Dark Phoenix are just as scary defensively. But when you go into those matchups with their correct counters, it's still a bit perilous. Like, I've seen people die horribly to Serpents using Spiral, using America Chavez, using Kushala, using Shathra. I haven't really seen that with Maestro recently, right? If you have the counter to Maestro, you're set for life. It's GG's. It's just gonna go down, right? But if you don't have a counter to Maestro, he just shoots up there to being nigh on impossible to kill. So you get this existential dread, right, when you fight this guy without a counter that really is unique to Maestro. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know, like, do you think that this design, where if you're out of that counter, you're done, like, you are genuinely done, but it's this weird scenario where there are so many counters now that he's almost just not worth drafting. And there were a lot of counters when he came out. So you think that Matty would be like, oh, look, Maestro is obviously in the same league as, like, Captain Britain or Yelena Belova or Anim Zola, all the defenders that I've raged against this year. And I look at Maestro, I'm just like, but he's unique in that way that he is just a little punching bag on defense when things go right. And it's not even that the defenders are difficult in their own right. It's just, have this mechanic, and it's not even a mechanic, just have special attacks, and then it works. I feel like this is a strange position for me to adopt given who I am. But genuinely, what do you think of Maestro? Because he is very paradoxical, he's very strange. He is simultaneously, in my opinion, the best defender in the game, but also one who is almost just not worth having around. Anyway, that comes to the end of this, of that brings us to the end of that little monologue. And now we're left with the final boss. And the final boss is the only fight in this quest that doesn't have the cosmic super boosting node. And yeah, you're going to see unawakened offensive Maestro leaves quite a lot to be desired, and to be honest, I'm not complaining. You could have gotten them awakened from the Careers Challenges. I, unfortunately, did not have that privilege. I had to elect to go with the Titan Nexus to get an option for that stupid Wheel of Fate bullseye with the 2025 tag. I had no one for that. I believe I had Falcon Joaquin Torres, and I had to take the Titan Selector, pass down an Awakening on Maestro, pass down Yelena Belova to pick up an Okoye. But I think that is just about all I have for you today once I finish off this Venom. And if you have made it this far, then congratulations, you have an attention span greater than that of a goldfish. Now, go away. You have no idea how many takes that took. I'm so frustrated.